Hey everyone, in this video we're going to look at reflected lighting. So in the previous video we did primary lighting, which is our main light source, and now we're going to look at reflected lighting. Now reflected lighting is going to work a little bit differently than the primary lighting. The primary lighting, we specifically targeted the areas that did not have shadow, and then we increased the value in those areas and brought in the idea of highlights, the areas that would be the brightest on the face or the hair or whatnot. Now we're going to look at reflected lighting. Now reflected lighting or bounce lighting is lighting that is not nearly as strong as the main source of light, the primary light or the key light. You can call all of those lights the same thing. So the reflected light is going to be the light that hits the ground or other surfaces and bounces back up onto our subject. Now the reflected light is going to only be seen in the shadowed areas because it is very weak compared to your primary lighting or your key lighting. So we're going to include a couple bits of light that's going to be bounced up back onto our demo's face here. And she is going to, we're going to kind of think about what planes the reflected lighting off the ground is going to hit her. So it'll be planes that are kind of perpendicular to the ground. Parallel to the ground. So we can kind of think of like under her chin will get a lot of light, the edges of her ears, anything kind of like that's flat to the ground, that's parallel to the ground, underneath her nose, even on the bottoms of her lips, right here on her eyes. So all of these planes that are there. Now we're not going to include the same kind of light, so we're not going to include like a higher grade of blue like her hair or green like her face. We're actually going to use one specific color for a reflected light. And again, we're looking at stylization here and we're not looking at realism, but kind of a cross between the two. So I'm going to go with a grayish green. Now you can go with anything, but you want to desaturate. You want it to be in the gray zone, but it's quite a high value. So I'm going to go okay. And now I'm going to think about, I'm going to rename this layer, and I'm going to call it reflected light. And I'm going to work with the skin in the demo portion. So I'm going to be on my reflected layer, control click my skin and hide those selection lines. Zoom in a little bit. So I've kind of predetermined where I want to include, as I just mentioned, these lights. So I'm just going to start kind of brushing it in really lightly. Make sure that your layer that you're working on is above your shadow layers, because I made the mistake of not doing that. So it's all about subtlety, and I really want to slowly, lightly brush in this idea of a shadow. So you want to kind of fade it slowly into her skin. If you go over a little bit, as you can see, I'm going into my neck a little bit too much. I'm going to bring in just an eraser tool after, just to clean it up. Again, I'm going to do this kind of quickly in terms of, so I'm kind of not wasting your time here, but you want to take your time doing it. If you need to go in and erase some of those edges underneath, you can. And the nice thing about working on a separate layer is that I'm not erasing her shadows of her skin. So I don't like this edge right here. I didn't bring it kind of low enough where I erased it a little too much. It's a little bit hot, so I'm going to kind of swipe over my eraser just to kind of bring it down a little. So again, I'm expediting this, but so I would be a little more careful. Also under her nose, it's going to be light. Right here, there'll be a little bit of light. Also be some light that's bouncing back up into her eye. Again, it's all about subtlety. That is way too hot. There we go, that's better. I'm going to also do it kind of just on the edge of her ear here. That side is much nicer. This side is a bit too abrupt. I'm going to bring it down with the eraser. And again, I'm just thinking of edges that are going to be kind of downward facing. So just along her ear, those planes that are going to be catching that light. So things that are kind of more perpendicular, or sorry, more parallel to the ground. And again, if it's a bit too harsh, you can bring the edges down with the eraser tool. I'm going to show you what it looks like with the highlighted lights on. Again, I've gone ahead and I've put them into a grouping. Inside the grouping, I've done the hair, the skin, and the lips, again, just for showing you. You can see what it looks like when I turn it on and off and toggle it. Done elements of the hair that would be more parallel to the ground, on her ear, small elements of hair around here. So again, just think of where those planes are. You can really see it really kind of brightens up her face too. You can go a little brighter on areas that you want to bring focus to, again, as we're working not fully in realism, but we're also thinking about stylization, or sorry, we're working in stylization, but we're thinking about composition too. So what is really important? What do you want to bring people's eye to?